Form, to me, is a community. I think that's what we've ended up settling on.
We've got to just use the Twitter bio, which is online creative sparkle emoji.
A place where artists can talk about art things, but also just like be normal. And just talk about whatever they want.
I think it's at its strongest when people are all in voice chat together, just sort of like sharing how their project files are going and people, kind of helping each other out, as smaller artists, I guess.
Lots of people say like it's a label, which I don't agree with that. I think we're more community based than anything.
Online creatives is such a big term. Form for me it's a safe space for artists.
Artists of different backgrounds and all different mediums just come together, make art, have fun, and do stuff for charity as well.
Form's kind of just become a staple in this little online creatives community we've seen here.
I think that's why Form is in a way different from a lot of these other communities, is that we do fill this interesting space where people of all different creative mediums are able to work together and collaborate.
It is the most broad generalization of what Form is, online creatives. So that's the jumping off point.
July 12th, 2018.
Let's all look at like one specific spot in your room and just like start doing the flashback thingy.
When did Form start? I remember it like it was yesterday.
This all started basically in the server called the Jaren Cord, which is basically just like a fan Discord for the super cool artist named Jaren. And, we were chilling in there, and then one day the server got deleted, and we were like, that sucks. It all sort of revolved around myself and Major and our like group of friends of visual artists who came together in that server. And I came to them with the idea of, why don't we create like a Discord server as a place for, artists of all different mediums to come together, create things and, do some good for charity. And I think that's really what kicked things off. I didn't really expect this to like take off how it did. I actually kind of expected it to stay like a relatively small community.
Because we started it like just the 8 original Pinklets. And we had a few friends in, and we had like maybe 15 members. And then Eileen Airway tweets like, hey, everyone should like join Form.
She was still like a really big artist, so she had like a lot of followers. And so when she did it, that's when the server like blew up in the beginning.
And everyone turned up, and we got to like 100, 200, 300, 400 members in days.
At that point was when that sort of like ripple in the water like set the course for all of the other things in the future to happen.
There was a lot of discussion back whenever it first came together, because I'm trying to avoid using the word formed. People didn't really know what it was. At the very beginning, it was a Discord server, and that was just whenever it was like Ness and Major and a few other people. And then I joined because I was looking to do some events and stuff like that. And I remember wanting to do like musical challenges and stuff like that because I was making music myself. I wanted to motivate myself, and one of the concepts I came up with was essentially trying to make an EP or an album in the space of 24 hours.
I suck at finishing things once I've started them. I tend to get bogged down in details. I tend to, over-fixate on tiny things and just sort of like tweak and tweak and tweak, and I never actually get anything done. If you give yourself a hard deadline, you kind of have to finish it. So as a challenge to myself, I said, hey, I'm going to start making little EPs in a day. And I floated the idea to do a collab with Ari, because Ari's also a music producer. And that was like back in like March of 2018 when I started doing those little EP challenges for myself.
Whenever I heard that Major was making Form, and that they were like, they were marketing themselves as like a community of creatives and all that, I was like, well, fuck, this is like a perfect opportunity to get in and get this planned, and we can also do it for charity as well.
And then I think that idea was just sort of the little spark that kind of lit the flame, and then Ari just sort of carried the torch and like did all the event planning from there, and All Nighter turned into something way bigger than I could have ever anticipated. It was really them that like turned it into like the event that set Form off.
The timeline of all-nighter events is always a bit weird, mainly just because, like, Form isn't run like a company or whatever. It's not run like a record label. It is run like 9 people having a discussion in a group chat and desperately trying to figure things out, you know?
The first thing we always do is choose the date. That could be anywhere from like 2 to 4 months in advance, but they're always in February or August. We just have to choose a weekend somewhere in there, and that's the weekend for all-nighter.
I think the best way to describe it is like the meme where it's like, honey, it's time for another all-nighter, and we're like, oh.
Yes, Form community.
Yes, Form community.
We start like planning out what artists that maybe not know about the event or we think they might be interested in the event. It's kind of intimidating in Tacoma to like approach artists that you don't really know or you look up to and just like ask them if they want to be in an event.
So the way we usually do this is we put together that list of people who we want to have in it, and then people can claim artists they want to talk to. So we try to have people who actually have some sort of contact with them already.
It's the worst thing when we get ghosted.
And I had the idea for doing a live stream for the whole 24 hours. And I invited 24 people, each get an hour, and we just live stream the whole thing on Twitch the whole time.
After that, when we already have everything set up, we have announced the event is happening. That's where the difficult part starts. We have to set up everything perfectly for when the event happens, it goes smoothly as possible.
And we gotta keep people excited.
The submission forms, more tweets that would hype up people.
Actually answering people's question.
Having an FAQ, having a help channel, and a general channel for the event that people get hyped in. It's logistical nightmare in the inside, really good look in the outside.
And then, whenever the 24 hours start, the team is flat out. There is, like, not a single break. People say that making a track in 24 hours is difficult. Try making a track and also being part of the Pink Lads. It's crazy.
It's something you can't really prepare for in the end. You can say, oh yeah, I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll plan for this and that, but then everything will just go out the window as soon as one like crash happens, and then you start panicking. But it's just, you gotta make sure that you gotta have a calm mind and be like, yep, focus, this is what I'm doing.
It's a very like fast-paced event and you have to get something out, so you end up doing stuff that's unexpected.
And usually I'll stop at some point and I'll like get distracted pretty quickly, and then I'll forget about what I'm doing and I'll come back later and keep working. But with all-nighter, you can't do that.
Whatever you do, you can't look back from your decisions. You just have to roll with it.
Really, you're just, okay, maybe this will work. Okay, maybe this will work. And it's just shotgun decisions, one after the other, and then you just stick them all together.
It's a finite amount of time, but there's an infinite amount of possibilities.
We did spend like every minute of the 24 hours working on
Oh yeah, none of us slept.
For 9 to 5, I had a brilliant idea of making as many covers as possible. So I have to speed up the process. Let's say 16 hours or 17 hours. So all 9 to 5 was essentially artistic torture.
I stayed up all night. Stardew stayed up all night. Mayo got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
It took me the entire 24 hours to make the song nonstop.
Oh god, well yeah, that's torture. For me, we pretty much got it done in a 9-hour chunk and a 3-hour chunk with a little break in between.
And like as a pretty new producer at the time, I kind of kept participating in one of the all-nighter compilations as a goal of mine.
At first I was super nervous because it's like, oh, I've never said a fucking word in this Discord server, like, oh, like, what's gonna happen in this community? I'm just gonna pull up and be like some awkward idiot. But no, Dossie and I basically sat in a Discord call for about, we didn't quite make it to 24 hours, but we got the tune done in 12 hours, and the rest is history.
The all-nighter process for me is different from my traditional process because it's such a small amount of time to get something completed out.
At the start, it's very much trying to get an idea down that can stick. And that can be stressful, honestly.
I never make songs at 170 BPM or 160. think it's funny that my songs are always faster when they're all-nighter songs, maybe because I'm like really hyper. By those first 2 hours, I will usually have like a drop, something that I know I'm gonna keep.
I would like go to an expectations thinking I am going to write something. I don't care if it gets on the compilation. I don't care if this or this or this. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try to see it through. And regardless of my creative block, I'm still gonna try and get something through, because then the best creative things come out.
I started streaming on my own channel right when the clock started. I worked on my idea for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then I stopped streaming because I was basically like, oh my god, my idea is garbage. What the fuck am I doing?
Like, it's something that I thought of in my head that I was like, oh, this is so cool. I want to write this. This is going to be epic. And then I like start fleshing it out, and it's like, this is dog shit. Like, this is like, this, the whole thing going through my mind is like, this is terrible. What was I thinking?
I remember sitting at my computer at like 2 a.m, just not knowing what to do. And it felt very, very hopeless to see something that was almost done, but I couldn't even get the main part finished. I have to complete this, because if I don't, then I won't have anything to show for all the effort that I've done.
It's always so weird sometimes when I can't like get out ideas. And you know, it's either a mix of depression and anxiety or just overwhelming sadness. Because, you know, the more tracks that are on the album, the more choices that people have to choose from, which means the more money that can go to charity.
At some point I said, okay, I need a moment. I'm going to go for a walk. And so I just like walked up the hill to the local parks.
If you are just like flippantly taking a walk down the sidewalk, eating a granola bar, or talking to your friends, something very small could spark an inspiration to create something. It could be a jingle. It could be a small piece from someone drumming on their table, you know? And that for some people is like that big moment of, oh wait, I could just do this. And then they go straight back into it.
So I left the house. I went to Subway. I walked to Subway to get some food to clear my mind. An hour later, I sat back down on the computer, and then I listened to my idea again. I was like, I can make this work.
When I was doing it with Neat and Diabolical Waffle, I didn't really know them that well. But by the end of the 24 hours, I could just say anything, really. In 24 hours, it was like a catalyst to friendship.
When you're sat for that long with one person, like, how can you not just, like, become friends after that?
Every time I work with a vocalist, it's just such a great feeling. Like, we really did that. We made a slapper. We made a slapper, bro.
The all-nighter experience was incredible as a musician, half because it really gave me the opportunity to really go from nothing to something in the span of 24 hours and just kind of really, really help me practice like my workflow skills and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, it gave me the chance to work with these two incredible people.
Aww.
Honestly,
Aww.
they both really, really inspired me lately. The experience of working with them and just like being in it with them through all of this was like a really, really valuable experience for me. So I have Form to thank for facilitating that.
Yeah, we're all married.
Mm-hmm.
The three of us.
Can confirm.
It's incredible because they are both Australian, and obviously I'm British. So I went to bed, I woke up, they had most of the song done. They just said, okay, can we have vocals here, 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 here? Thank you. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Shit.
That's the part that I look back on the most, is the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes.
You gotta just keep going until you feel like you're in a comfortable place to close your eyes for 6 hours accidentally, and then wake up again and keep going at it.
Probably around like the 20 or 21 hour mark, I was getting a bit crazy, as I do, a bit delusional, and I accentuated this for content purposes.
I'm generally the one who mixes at the end, so I've been the one who's sort of worked on all the structuring and figuring out how to piece stuff together. And that's at once very difficult and sometimes stressful and extremely enjoyable and rewarding once I figure out how it's going to work.
No, we're starting to like hype each other up, like this is it, we're gonna do it, and you're rushing to submit. They want to do all this stuff at the very last minute, and suddenly we realize, we could have done this at 4 a.m., but now we're waiting till noon to finish it.
They didn't end up getting their stems to me until I think like 2 hours before the deadline or so, and so I was mixing and nearly went over. At the end, especially, like when the deadline hit, I was just like, okay, I just need to get everything done, but I need to also get everything done and not skimp out on anything.
And trying to figure out when it's done, because that's a creative block also. Just trying to figure out when I can finish this without feeling like I didn't do enough or doing too much. They're trying to find that balance.
It's crazy how much we managed to do in 24 hours, and there's just this feeling of like euphoria when you know you've got something insanely good, and you just submit it in, and then you get words from the people that you've asked for feedback from, and they just go like, "What the hell is this? This is insane!" It's incredible what you can do when you actually have to have the 24 hours to do it.
Doing the all-nighter helps me realize that if I put my mind to it, I can work really fast, which has been really helpful mentally to know I have that ability if I need it or want to.
And it actually did change the way I did things after the event ended. So it's sort of given me a new direction.
And then about an hour before it ends, tracks start coming in, and then about 5 minutes before it ends, we get 3 times the amount that we had judged previously, because everybody submits last minute.
And that sucks for us on the West Coast because the event was 7 to 7, so 7 a.m. So people like Emta and Aaron and I, we wake up and then we're like, unless you guys stayed up, we wake up and then we're like, oh god, I have to look at 250 songs in the next 5 hours.
We had 300 submissions for All Nighter 5, and within, I think about 12 hours after the event had finished or something, we were expected to have listened to all of them as a first pass.
There's 2 stages to it. So the first stage, we get so many submissions that it's so hard to figure out what's on and what's not. So the first round is kind of just going through, and everyone votes. I like this. I'm kind of mad on this. I don't really like this so much. And we pull those into round 2, and then that's where we take the time to really go through and okay, of these 70 or 80 tracks, which ones really stand out to us, which ones are kind of which ones we're kind of mad on.
So it can be pretty cutthroat, but after we decide on the track list, we pass over to Vintrox, who's a technical wizard that does the email list, lets everyone know whether they got in or not.
So this time, the final notifications about whether people got in the album were about 36 hours after it ended.
People will spend 24 hours making their track, and then they'll spend another 12 not able to sleep because they're worried about whether or not they got in. So we try our best to just get through voting as quick as we can, but still take the time to listen through the stuff that's really that really catches our ears, so that we can kind of discern what is the actual best what's the sort of best course of action of how we can compile these into a listenable experience.
I was awake for some reason at 3 a.m. in the morning. I checked my emails and I saw the invitation thing saying that you got into the album, and I didn't sleep well for the rest of it that night, but I'm pretty happy.
We basically have kind of a formula for what the ideal track list should look like.
We try our best to have a nice diverse range of stuff, from really big artists to really small artists, from heavy bass music, dubstep and drum and bass and trap and all that, to kind of quieter stuff, lo-fi hip-hop, synthwave, pop music, that kind of stuff.
So you might give a track that's objectively really good a lower score just because it doesn't stand out compared to the other ones with the same sound. Because we're trying to build a diverse album in every sense of the word.
It was a lot of submissions, and they were very difficult because we got so many good tracks, and Aiden and I didn't really have a point of reference because this was our first all-nighter to judge, and we were like, is it always this hard?
This one was the hardest.
Yeah,
definitely.
By far, this one was the hardest.
Heard the first 3 and they were also awesome, and I wanted to be a part of it for so long. It was just super awesome finally getting to be on it.
We really love the fact that we are at the point of the premiere that people are with us listening to this album in the order that we put it in.
Right when they press play on the very first song, everyone goes crazy. The first song till the last song, because every single song has its merit.
All Nighter doesn't really have an identity from the submissions alone. It's just kind of like us sort of like weaving it all together in a way that sounds like a complete experience that sort of makes it magical when you do the premiere.
The feeling of listening back through the listening party, for me, it makes me feel like this community-wide thing is just finished and it's complete, and we can just listen to it forever now. It's ours to keep.
People kind of look back and they, it's usually a couple days after the event. People are kind of starting to miss it, miss like the energy and the excitement. So it's just it just sort of concludes in this like big emotional moment most of the time. And everyone's so positive. Everyone's so like the love is really there. And I'm so glad to be a part of that.
For me personally, it's really just about participating in community-based activities. It's what keeps me going. It's what I truly believe in. Collaborative efforts and community efforts will help make you a better person and will help you grasp a different outlook on the work that you do by yourself.
I think it changed what my future could look like, and I think that's super cool. Like I started getting like commissions and stuff. Like people like I don't even know half some of the people who commissioned me, but like now like my art's on like Spotify, and that's crazy, I think. So like big shout out Form.
It's really helped me build confidence in my music and saying that, hey, people actually do like this stuff, and you know what, you should keep doing it.
The community was very fostering and welcoming, and it was just like I really didn't feel like an outsider there, which is pretty cool.
In a sea of places where it felt like they were doing it just to try and gain something, like a following, like or money or something. But since they're doing it for charity, like all that was stripped away, and it was just a group of people just having fun, and it was very, very inviting.
I think Form has positively impacted my my beliefs, and the way I look at people. It opened me up in a very good way.
Form is definitely one of those communities that's changing the way we see collaboration and changing the way we see a family effort between thousands of producers and thousands of artists.
The Pink Lads, as they're called, the staff of Form, have been some of the most hardworking people that I've ever encountered. To see all these people be in support of who you want to be and what you're trying to do, even just for 24 hours, is some of the greatest memories that I've formed.
It seems like it had more to it than just like being this internet art collective thing. When I found it, it was super new, but I thought it was already like an established thing that, had been going on for years.
It feels like this can't happen in such a short amount of time. Surely it has to be longer, but no, it's grown so big. We're almost at like how much people? Like 3,000 people in the server?
Yeah, close to.
Yeah.
Something around that in 2 years.
And as a team, we do have a tendency to work reasonably fast on things that we do. Like we've released 9 albums since Form started. All Nighter 5 is the 9th thing we've released.
And they're all huge albums.
So in terms of the actual growth of Form, I think even though I joined at a point very late into the development of Form, in terms of, I guess, recent years, considering it hasn't been a long time, it's still shocking every time that we just go more and more and more, and it's so hard to, like, see what's over the horizon because, like, we get curveballs, we do things that are different every time, so I think it's very hard to say what's on the horizon, but I can positively say that it's only like up from here.
Even as we scale, I want to keep the same fundamental ideas and goals behind it, where we don't change the meaning and the ideals behind what we're doing just because we're getting bigger in the numbers of things.
Previously, like, I hadn't really had a hand in like any big event such as like the caliber of All Nighter. I feel like it brought me closer to these people that I work with because, like, all of us are exhausted. We're still working on stuff. Like, the last night we were working on stuff, Aaron was finishing rendering the premiere video. We were all just hanging out, and it was like, it's a good time. Like, even despite the sacrifices we make, some people stay up the whole night. Some people, so there are disagreements. There are things that we have to handle as we go along the way, but I feel like we ultimately come out of it as like a closer group and as better people in some way.
And the ultimate point of this is that we're doing willingly. It's not that we're obliged to do this and we have to do this. We all do it because we want to, and that, I think that's what like makes the bond of this entire group just like connect so well. It's just because we're here, we want to be here, and we love what we do.
They created a very cool community for like a lot of upcoming artists, and that's a cool thing in my book. Okay, who's playing bass? Hansel, that you? You playing bass again?
Seinfeld theme now.
Do it, no.
Do it.
No, I don't know how to play this freaking Seinfeld theme.
This team's cringe.